Hey Year 10. We've been solving quadratic equations for a little bit now. The method that we've been using so far is by factorizing and then using null factor law, which means making the whole thing equal zero and then solving. So hopefully we're okay with that now, but there's actually other ways to do it. So another way that we can solve is using the quadratic formula, which we can see here in 5i, which we're working on now. So we're going to look at the quadratic formula pretty soon. But before we do that, I want to look at something within the quadratic formula, which is this bit here, which is called the discriminant. Now, I'm going to go up to these dot points here. We know that when we're solving quadratic equations, we can have a couple of different solutions, can't we? So we might end up having like x equals 1 and x equals 2. So we'd have two solutions. But quadratic equations, they can have 0, 1, or 2 solutions. This here, the discriminant, we can use this to work out how many solutions there will actually be. Okay, so when we plug in our A, B, and C into this rule here, depending on the answer that we end up getting, will tell us the amount of solutions we have. So if the answer is less than 0, so a negative number, we're going to have 0 solutions to that quadratic equation. If the answer is 0, we'll have 1 solution. If the answer is greater than 0, so a positive number, we'll have 2. Okay, now we're going to practice using this formula here, which is called the discriminant, with these two examples here. So it says, use the discriminant to find the number of solutions. So we're not actually trying to find what the solutions are, we're just trying to work out how many there are. Okay, so let's focus on A first. So firstly we need to know our A, B, and C. So I'm not necessarily going to write this every time, but in this case we have A equals 1, because it's the coefficient of x squared. We've got B equals 6, and we have C equals 5. So they're the things that we need to substitute into our discriminant formula. So the discriminant, and this might look a little bit funny, it's a triangle. Okay, that's the symbol that we use for discriminant. So we need to have B squared, which is 6. So 6 squared minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is 5. So we just need to work that out and see what it ends up coming to. So 6 squared is 36, minus 20. So our discriminant is equal to 16. Okay, now we need to pay attention to what our answer actually is here, because this tells us how many solutions we're going to have. So if we look up here, we can see that if the discriminant is greater than 0, we'll have 2 solutions. This is greater than 0, so therefore we can say there will be 2 solutions. Okay, let's have a go at the next one. So I'm not going to write down my A, B, and C this time. I'm just going to plug it straight into the rule. Okay, so it's B squared. So minus 4 squared minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is 5. Okay, so minus 4 squared is 16 minus 20. So the discriminant is equal to minus 4. Okay, now because the discriminant is equal to minus 4, if the discriminant is less than 0, there are 0 solutions. So we can say, therefore, there will be 0 solutions. There we go. Alright, now we've worked out how to find how many solutions there'll be. We want to find what the solutions actually are using this quadratic formula. Now I think you may have seen this before, I can't remember it exactly, but it looks pretty big. It's something that it might help you out to remember this, okay? But a good way to remember it is every time you use it to write it down beforehand. That's what I used to do, so now I can remember this off the top of my head. But for now we've got it written down anyway, just to help you out. So all we need to do is find out what our A values are, our B values are, and our C values are, and substitute them straight into that formula. So let's look at this one here. Our A is minus 1, our B is minus 8, and our C is minus 7. We're just putting those numbers into here. So let's do that. So X is going to equal. Now what I like to do when I substitute numbers in is put them inside brackets, because one thing that happens is people end up making mistakes with negative numbers. So that's why I've done that there, because a negative and negative is going to end up being a positive, so I don't get confused. Okay, so I've substituted all those numbers in there. I just need to work out what this is going to be. Okay, so let's keep simplifying this. Okay, minus 4 times minus 1 is 4 times minus 7 minus 28. Alright, 64 minus 28, so 44, 36. Alright, now with this one here, it's ended up being a nice easy number under the root there, so the square root of 36 is 6. Okay, now this might look a little bit funny because we have a plus and a minus here, but what we have is actually two different equations. So one of our equations is x equals 8 plus 6 divided by minus 2, and the other one is 8 minus 6 divided by minus 2. So one of our answers is going to be 8 plus 6, which is 14, divided by minus 2, which is minus 7, and the other one, 8 minus 6 is 2, divided by minus 2 is minus 1. Alright, so there we go. We've found those two solutions using the quadratic formula. So you may have been able to do the same thing just by factorising, and you'd end up finding the exact same answer as what we've got over here. Right, so let's go to the next one. Let's do it again. Firstly, we need to work out what A, B, and C are. So A is 3, B is 5, and C is minus 1. So let's put them into our rule here. There we go. So it's all substituted in. Now it's time to just simplify. What am I doing? 27. It's not 27, it's 37. Okay. Now, I don't think we can really go any further with this one. So this is actually our answer. So again, this is two answers. There's one with a plus and one with a minus. So I'm going to write them both just to make it a bit more clear. But this is also fine. So minus 5 plus the square root of 37 divided by 6. And also x equals minus 5 minus the square root of 37 divided by 6. So there's our two answers just there. So hopefully that helped you out with solving using the quadratic formula. Have a go at your questions and let me know if you need a hand.